That's the bottom of his head. And that would have been the Britannica under there. That's probably between 1730 and 39.
Is that right, really?
And this one here, you can get the date. I mean, I don't know if my hand's the best model. The bricks, all the shells and stuff. There's pottery.
Pottery.
I know the oyster shells, which would have come from the Tavern. Maybe if I knew oyster shells, you may have an old property from what I understand.
Back out here on this old stagecoach line, what I believe at this point is Henry Etter's Tavern would have been right over here, and the barn that I talked about in the past that I actually saw still there, the barn for Henry Etter's Tavern was right here. So if you look on the 1860 Shearer map, you can see that this Turnpike Road continued right down into the woods here. So this has always been off limits private property, still is. So I finally got permission to travel this old stagecoach route to see if we can find any remains of the cabins that Jim Brown was murdered on, and just any other remains of this old stagecoach line. So as early as 1730, there was a ferry crossing the Susquehanna River from what is now Middletown to this side of the river. It wasn't officially chartered until 1738, but there was a road traveling the river from here to Harrisburg as early as 1800. In 1814, the York and Harrisburg Turnpike would be completed between York and York Haven. In 1825, General Lafayette would pass this route on his way to Harrisburg during his visit in the United States. In 1826, a really bad storm would blow down Henry Etter's house here, and he would rebuild it that year into the stone structure that would become the hotel for the ferry. A girl actually died in that house collapse. In 1828, an act was created to complete this turnpike from here up to the bridge crossing the Susquehanna to Harrisburg. And in 1838, this turnpike would be completed. So 1 year prior to the official creation of this turnpike, 1837, Dan Johnson would murder Jim Brown in a fit of rage at his neighbor Lewis Robinson's cabin, which is located somewhere inside this abandoned section of the turnpike.
We took up at a rural bar room after we had gone a few miles. It had by this time come on to rain very heavily, and there was a cold, damp mist besides, which penetrated to the skin. The scenery, which had been tame enough at first, was for the last 10 or 12 miles beautiful. Our road wound through the pleasant Susquehanna. The river, dotted with innumerable green islands, lay upon our right, and on the left, a steep ascent, craggy with broken rock and dark pine trees. The mist, wreathing itself into 100 fantastic shapes, moved solemnly upon the water, and the gloom of evening gave to all an air of mystery and silence, which greatly enhanced its natural interest.
This out, this is really a flatter, it's like jam the root. This is the old bridge in here, and you don't have all the stairs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the old rock on there and everything. There's some old bricks down there.
We were forced to take a side road up the mountain to get around multiple trees that were blocking the road. Yeah, but you're right about the rocks. That's definitely questionable. Trying to find where the connector would have been here, where the stagecoach route would have linked to the area that the railroad tracks replaced. And it's hard to imagine that with the amount of rocks sitting around here. Yeah, this is I'm not sure what's going on here with all the rocks. Hoping I can get a better view. Maybe the road came down through there, possibly. Possibly, maybe it was a slant down, or it came out down there. Yeah, this doesn't make...
Over there.
Yeah. There have long been tales of buried treasure in this desolate section of the turnpike, stashed away by highwaymen and other robbers.
There's a secret cave in there? Is that where the treasure's at? Yeah, but I don't think I want to know it's living in there. And this seems like an obvious, like, spot.
Yeah. Jeez. This is clearly a path here, but it leads to a lot of rocks. I think this is the lower end of where we turned off. I think that's where it's blocked right there. So I'm gonna look and see if this continues out down here somewhere. That is the section that we had to divert to get around it. We are back down on it right here. It looks like it cuts up from here. But it could have been diverted at some point. For it to go straight out to the tracks, it would have had to have been here. So that's the route from where we came in at. My theory is that it came straight down here and lined up with the tracks. So I gotta get to the other side to see if there's any indication of that whatsoever. All right, I gotta get around to the other side of this somehow to see if it links up to the tracks. I'm just gonna walk it down to where we had to cut off at. But look at that. I mean, is that where it was?
Even after the railroad was built, several cabins might have been seen near the railroad curve. These cabins were occupied by two colored men, Dan Johnson and Jim Brown. The former killed the latter with an axe by cutting him in the abdomen.
And it's either that section up there or down here. I think what I'm going to have to do is overlay the maps. If Google Earth shows these railroad ties and where the road lines up with the rapids and the island out there. But this kind of seems like where it would have came out at. But where Brian's at up there also looks like some type of road coming off the hill, so I don't know. But I don't think that's the one because I'm pretty sure that leads to a lot of rocks. Yeah, it's a tough one. I think that if the cabins were on this side of the tracks, this is where this road would have came out at. So they would have had to have been somewhere inside here. This road continued across the tracks and curved going up along the river. So, I mean, it could have been over in that patch of woods also. So I guess the next step is to see if we can gain access to that side, to see what's over there. The actual ferry, Middletown Ferry, would have been right over there at the top of this island. It would have crossed over between Hill Island